This is 2OF Entertainment.
Good day to you.
Good day to you, Paul. Good to see you again.
Yeah, no, we're moving along. We got a really tight schedules to these, this next little while over, we're getting closer and closer to the end of the year.
Yeah.
And we still keep finding some magical, and I'm saying today is magical. Magical is today.
Magical. Oh, wow.
Yeah, it is.
Looking forward to that.
We have an award-winning artist, Martin Murphy, living in Ontario at the moment, also from BC, and he's just prolific artist, graduate of Ontario College of Art in editorial design, and so he's done some digital work as well. But has he done some work for some major companies? My goodness, work for Lucasfilms, Pirates of the Caribbean, and
put that on your CV, eh?
It's kind of nice to have that. It's a nice kudo, but it does take you away from the painting aspect, the things that you like to do, and what Martin paints is just amazing stuff that most people don't paint, probably can't paint. He's a high hyperrealist portrait painter, and but it's thematic. A lot of stuff that we're going to be looking at today, and we're talking about his influences, where some of this came from. But he's got an acting career as well. He acted and traveled across Canada in theater, in Cats, for instance, but also Phantom of the Opera. He's played in those films that are acted on stage. So we talked about how those things kind of all meld together. And how does that affect what you do as a painter, which is now what he does full time? He's got out of the film business, and we'll maybe talk to him a little bit about that. Let's bring Martin Murphy in.
Yes, let's do that.
Welcome. Welcome.
Good morning, gentlemen.
Welcome.
Hopefully you're not blushing so much that I get these kudos, but holy smokes, like, you've got a CV that is impressive, and envious of many people that to be able to work in those industries that are, I guess, they're really at the high end of creativity, and they pushed film in the day. They pushed new technologies, and our imagination. Like, they really stretched that fantasial aspect out of people. Whether you be Star Wars or, the Jurassic Parks, and when you look at Lucasfilms, your mouth just drops, right? The jaw. Think, how do you come up with these beautiful images that we want to be a part of? We want to participate. We want to be part of that. And I get some of that in your work that you're doing. It's pretty amazing to see that.
I'm going to be a bit naughty and say I'm not going to participate. And
you might be his next model. You never know. You might be his next model.
Well, yeah. If you're looking for any monsters in Gothic movies, I'm in there. But well, enjoy the show, gentlemen. Have a great interview, and until the next time from me, anyway. Bye bye.
Okay, thank you. Yeah. Well, sir, how are you doing this morning?
Yeah. I'm good.
Yeah. Well, it's a pleasure to talk to you about your work. Congratulations again on becoming he's a major winner in Artists of Canada's Great Canadian Arts Show that we had on this fall, and we appreciate your participation in that. Ignore this phone of mine. Sorry. I'm gonna mute this. Yeah.
You don't return my calls.
Yeah. Yeah, I know what it is. It's just something I have to take care of. But no, I think you're back on track where we were. It's just sort of understanding that what an artist goes through. Like, you have an acting background, theater, as well as understanding film, and how does that affect what you do today as a painter? Like,
Oh, it's incredible. Everything that I've been lucky enough to be a part of, it all feeds into what I'm doing now. Like I was a dancer for 13 years, and then, but I was also like an artist at the same time.
yeah,
So I was always splitting my time and interest between the two, and um, I guess the theater bug took over, and I always call it the hobby that got out of hand.
yeah,
It was just kind of a hobby, and it was something I wanted to do. And I saw the shows that when I was in college, or actually when I was in high school, I saw the shows in Canada's Wonderland, and they had
yeah,
like huge productions and 18 singers and dancers, and it was just like, what is this? I had never seen anything like that, and I said, I have to do this.
yeah,
How do you do this? How do you get started? So but I was also always an artist. Even when I was a little kid, I was always drawing and painting, but this was just like a distraction that just got me hooked. And when I went to art college, oh, I have to correct something. I never graduated from OCA. That's always like a thing that always like sticks in me, that I never quite finished. I did 3 out of the 4 years for my editorial illustration program. I left in my 4th year because I got a theater job in France for the summer.
yeah.
Singing and dancing in this Broadway review show in Nice on the Riviera, and I
Wow.
just dropped my brushes. I was like, "All right, peace out. I'm gonna go to Europe for the summer." So that kind of started the whole theater thing full time, because when I got back, I instantly got another gig, and then got into Cats in the 80s when it was like in Toronto, and it was like the biggest production in the country, and it just you just meet people and you learn and you get better, and then you get the next gig and the next gig and the next gig. So my art sort of fell off to the side there for a bit, but I was still doing like portrait commissions and posters for theater shows. That was still kept me in. Now I did a lot of those. I did a couple for some fundraisers for the Stratford Festival, and so I was still in there while doing the theater, still in the art. But then I just got too old for me anyway. I was 37, I think, or 38 when I left theater.
Yeah.
And then I discovered the computer and the art programs on the computer. And then I got hooked in digital art. So I dropped my brushes again, and then started doing digital art, and then 3D art, 3D illustration, and a company from Hamilton, Ontario called Digital Extremes sent me an email saying, "Hey, we're a game company in Hamilton. Do you want to work with us?" And I wasn't a gamer, but I thought, this is great. I'll absolutely do this. So I did it for 2 years. And then I said, I want to work in film. So I said, I'll give myself 2 months. Excuse me. I'll give myself 2 months to work on a portfolio and make a reel and send it out to the movie studios. Like, who does that? It's never going to work. They're never going to see your stuff. But it actually worked. The 2 months was actually 8 months, and I was broke. And I, teaching myself all this computer stuff, just, with these how-to books, on my lap, opened on my lap. And I'm like, okay, page 1, let's find out how to animate. So I taught myself how to do all that stuff, put a reel together, edited it, did all that stuff. And I made a bunch on VCR, on a VHS tape. That's how old. This is like back in 2002. And but it just so happened that ILM was hiring for this new film that they were doing about pirates. and they needed a whole bunch of artists. And so I flew down. They had a convention going, so I flew down to San Antonio, Texas, and interviewed. And I got the job that afternoon.
Wow.
And it was like, okay, how soon can you be in California? And I was like, oh my God, this is incredible. So it took a while to get a visa because I didn't finish my college. It took a little bit longer and a little bit more complicated to get a work visa, but they did end up getting one for me. And in about 3 or 4 weeks, I packed up my life, threw it in the back of a car, and I drove across the country. It's only supposed to be 6 months. A 6-month contract. It was for the very first Pirates of the Caribbean.
Oh yeah.
And it was a show like, what do we do? And it's based on a ride in an amusement park. This will never fly, you know. What do we? This is crazy. And it wasn't until the movie was finished that it was like, oh my God, this is incredible. This is, you know,
I don't know. There must. What is there? 4 of them now, or is there 4 or 5?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Johnny Depp just takes it to another level.
Yeah.
I mean, you work with that, and you know, I always thought Keith Richards was a great pirate. He just was a great pirate.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's roll a first picture here. We're just going to show some of your work here and get David to pop it up on the screen. There you go.
Speaking.
So this is not Pirates of the Caribbean by any means, but this is some of your, you know, you're painting realistic imagery. And I guess we're just going to walk through some of these. We got a dozen or so of these images of some of your work, and this one is, you know, your contemporary realism. I guess you're looking at, you know, and it's more realistic, more so than Fantasia. This one, but can you talk a little bit about, you know, your painting career, a little bit about the early stages of painting and why you like to paint like this?
I've always loved. The masters, the dark, you know, portraits where, you know, they spend months on the little intricate fabrics on the costumes, and I just love that. I would go to a museum and I would just sit there and just look at all the brushstrokes and just go, oh my God, how long did this take? You know, every corner of the painting is finished and you know, complete, and it's just so I don't know. I find them like little beautiful moments in time, but they looked like they were painted yesterday. I just loved all that. So that's what my kind of painting style was at the beginning, but I was sort of petrified of looking old-fashioned. So I thought, what can I do to freshen this up, still keep the painting style, I guess, but take out the dark and the draperies and all that, which I still love to paint and still do paint. So I did a bunch of these figure pieces because I love to paint figures and anatomy and back into the dancing days. This is actually a dancer friend of mine. And I just did a neutral background. So we went to her house and I had these white fabrics and we put them down, and I did the reference photography outside. So it was like super soft light. And we did a whole bunch of poses, and this one was my favorite. And she was wonderful. She let me paint all the flaws and all the veins and all the wonderful things that make my friend Janie. You know, she was from the National Ballet, and she's had some knee surgeries and hip surgeries, and I just love that. I've known her for 30 or 40 years almost, and she's still a wonderful friend, and just let me paint all the things that people usually hide, I guess you could say.
Yeah. No, those are that. I guess is that what you search for in a model? Someone that has that history, like they've been used a little bit. They've got they're round cornered. They're not sharp edged type of characters. They've got rounded shoulders. They've kind of, you're feeling the character more.
That's the word. That's the word right there. Character. You know, there's not too many. I was going to say there's not too many paintings, but there are. People like to paint something interesting. I like to sink my teeth into something that is maybe slightly off the beaten path of what might somebody hang in their living room, I guess.
Yeah.
but I just, also from my visual effects background, I love creatures and monsters and interesting things. And in visual effects, I was a texture painter, so I painted skin on these creatures and modeled a few of them for Pirates of the Caribbean as well. So I just loved all that. That's in me forever. And now I can, all the information I've learned through ILM about, the what happens to the skin when light hits it, and the subsurface scattering, and the reflection, and just the skin color, I can put now into these paintings.
Yeah, yeah. Sometimes it's like a lot of times in skin and certain people, there's a blue undertone
Yeah.
in skin. It's not just white or flesh.
Yeah.
And it understanding how do I find that? When I get in painting, how do I get to that color that I'm looking for? How do I get the feeling of that is a real leg? You can, like, you see that the blue vein in it, or in a Caucasian person.
Yeah.
But that's great to paint that. But now I look at this painting, Medusa, and I go, this beautiful girl with this snake on her head. It's very contemporary, but your subject matter, and we're going to go through a whole series of, I guess, Greek gods and goddesses and things. Where did that come from? Like the mystic of that, the fantastical part of that, I guess, as well.
Well, it kind of was an idea I had where, because I used to paint portraits, but I wasn't a fan of painting portraits because, you have to favor the subject. You have to be flattering and make me younger and make me thinner. And, that's great. And that's part of being a portrait painter. But this way I could paint a portrait, I could paint figures, but I can put a little visual effects in there, and I can have a little I can mix the contemporary with the classic and have fun with the skin. And so it all sort of came together, and I thought, oh, this is a great thing. I'll do a whole series of these sort of portraits, but not make them portraits, but still make them contemporary with the neutral backgrounds, and maybe the younger look, and not make them so much creatures, but maybe they're magazine covers. Maybe Medusa was, on the cover of, Greek Vogue or something. And so that's the sort of look I was looking for, just to, once again, just to keep it contemporary.
Yeah. Well, it's the hair as well. It's the, that headpiece as well, right? It's it's just, is there a shock factor that I'm looking at, or is it just like when I look at this, I just see these large curls, and all of a sudden, oh, it's a snake, right? It's just this kind of, it's got this two-edged sword to the subject matter, and it's trying to find, the right model for and also, is it what kind of snake is it? Because that becomes important as well.
They're just fantasy snakes.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, if you painted a snake with stripes on it, it has a different look than this textural. They almost look like tapestries that are on the snake, right? Which gives it a time sense as well, right? It kind of, she could be this evil Vikingness kind of a person, right? It has a bit of history, but I love the mythology part to your work, because I don't see a lot of other people doing that. I mean, the photographer Leibowitz?
Yes.
Yeah, and she's always searching as well with her photography to find, how do I best portray and pull out imagery from that model to give them their iconic look, right? And it can be usually actresses or famous actresses or actors that hire her and pay big dollars, and to try to search out what is the imagery that is me, right? Because a lot of times you can't see that yourself. In a portrait where you're lost, like, I don't know who I really am, and people from outside look at you and say, "Well, no, you are. This is what you are." And you, "Oh, am I? I didn't realize that." Right? You don't personify what you think you are, really, right? Sometimes and if you do, it's artificial. It feels fake.
Yeah, like creating art for other people.
Yeah, you got that one right. But
Yeah,
yeah, but we kind of, how difficult is it to find a model for what you're doing? Like, for say you got
Oh,
an idea for this one, for
oh,
Menon. How do you?
this one, yeah, this one. Well, I probably shouldn't say this, but I'll tell you. This was a piece. It's quite large. It's 60 by 40, I think it is, or 60 by, I can't remember how. It's a biggie.
Yeah.
But this was when I didn't have anything to any idea in my mind. I was like, oh, but I have to got to keep working. I've got the time, but I couldn't think of anything. I couldn't find the right model. I couldn't find the right subject. But I thought I had this shot of this model from Vancouver, and I thought, okay, it's a beautiful shot. How can I fit this into my series of Greek gods? So
Yeah.
I did some research, and I made the helmet in Photoshop and the background in Photoshop, and slid that behind him, and then he's now Memnon. So, but this was a big one, a tough one. Like the face is like 3 feet high, so
Yeah.
it's a good size.
Yeah. So you're using your Photoshops to build the imagery within the background. Then you paint using that as reference. You paint the paintings.
Yeah, sometimes I'll make my own props.
Okay.
Like for instance here, like this one. Like this helmet has been in a painting called The Sleeping Soldier, and it's just a kid's helmet that I got from a party store, and I glued some stuff I found from the Salvation Army, and then painted it gold, and that was his prop for that painting. So sometimes I make the props, sometimes I use Photoshop to build them, and it's whatever I can do,
Yeah.
whatever I have around.
Yeah. Well, I think that's important for people to understand. You can do that yourself. You don't have to take what's off the shelf. You can make your own ideas. I think a lot of us feel it's like you got handcuffs on. You say, "Oh, I've got to stay to traditional. I got to stay to this," and you say, "That's what you got to break away from. You got to, because then when you're trying to find yourself, you said, well, I make my own props. Nobody else does that because nobody else can make a prop like you, like it's unique, like it's one off." And a lot of people are, they feel like brush strokes have to go from left to right all the time. So no, they don't. Brush strokes can go any way you want. And a lot of times they're trained to do it one way, or it's just they never thought of mushing your brush or doing something different. You say, well, that's how you get those other textures. Like it's, yes, you might ruin your brush. I'm sorry, but it's
Yeah.
like that's how you get that texture, by ruining that brush. You've got to do that experimenting, and where otherwise you don't take any risks. There is no risks.
Yes, and sometimes like I've done photo shoots where it just doesn't work out. And a lot of these, I do a lot of setups, and I'll bring a whole bunch of lights to somebody's house and photograph them and set them up, and it just doesn't work. And I keep pulling up the photo shoot saying, "Are you sure? There's nothing in here." I'm like, darn it, it just didn't work.
Yeah.
But most of these take a lot of like pre-prep and organization, and some fixing on the computer even before I start my first brushstroke,
Yeah.
just so I can get this sort of fantasy element, and before I start working.
Yeah, drapery is difficult, especially when it's like this flying up above the model and trying to keep it loose and doing a like airy feeling, right? To keep it, yeah, and it's just you're sitting there pinning stuff and you're trying to and like you said, Photoshop, sometimes you can go in and clean it up to feel the rhythms and flows, but generally in the photography, you got to pretty much nail it because it's all about lighting,
Oh,
like,
I have whole rolls of me holding up fabric in the wind in the summer and just letting it go, click,
yeah,
click,
yeah.
and then in Photoshop you can twist it and turn it and blend it all together. And
I like that, and I like that you just told people how to go ahead and do it. Go out in the wind with it, hold it up in the air, and feel.
Yeah.
Different wind will give different way things flip around and fold, but it gives you a real good sense of the light and the drapery. And I said, sometimes you have to go out and find, how am I going to do that, and experiment. And once you find it, you'll find, I think you find your rhythm. You really do, and it influences your work, like, because then it looks like you. It looks like it's been planned, and it
It's
looks
unique.
real. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
No.
unique. Yeah.
So is this one of your dancer models again, friends?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is. This is my dear friend Christine, who I've known since the '80s. Danced in one of my very first shows with her. She's incredible. She's one of Canada's top commercial dancers, and she's stunning. And I painted her about 30 years ago, and now I bumped into her at Artist Project, and I said, "Christine, you look exactly the same." I said, "I'd love to paint you again," and she was like, "Okay." So I went to her house, and we did a few poses, and but this is the one that I liked the best. She was sitting on a chair, like one cheek on a chair, and she's a dancer, so
Okay. Yeah.
giving me all her poses.
Yeah.
And then I added the fabric a couple of days later.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's really nice rhythms and flows in this piece. It's just, I mean, the palette seems dark to me,
Yes, I
and
wanted that
that's
backlit sort of Maxfield Parrish sort of look with
yeah.
the sunset type of thing.
Hmm. Yeah. No, it's you can see your theater background a bit coming out. Like, what you look for in your work is definitely influenced by, theater and film, especially when you work with the classic films. Like, they get ultra fussy when you get into the Jurassics and the Lucas stuff, because he spends millions and millions of dollars on the production. He wants the best that he can get, and I can only imagine going to those fairs, searching out the artist that you're looking for. Who's the next artist that I need to be a part of the team? Because it's rarely ever a one-off thing. I think when you work in the film like that, there's hundreds of artists working
And
uh,
they, yeah,
at different levels.
yes, and different backgrounds. Like I would be sitting next to a wonderful artist who has a computer science degree from Stanford, and I didn't even finish my college degree from art, but
Yeah.
I have this sort of painterly art background that worked well with. I can always, they say anyway, you can always learn the software, but you need that sort of art background. And
Yeah.
yeah, so they had all kinds of super smart um, computer science people who are also artists. Like it's such an unusual combination.
Yeah.
But I learned a ton of stuff when I was there. Almost 17 years, 16 and a half years with Lucasfilm.
I think they kind of learned from you as well. Like you're to them, you're a little analog, but
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
that they could see how you see things. He said, how do I render that? So all of a sudden they get into, so now they're learning from how you see things in a different visual manner, I would say, and they're trying to replicate that into digital, for instance. Yeah, or how can I use that in something else, right? And so it's great that you're all in the same room together, like, or close in proximity. So there is that osmosis that can happen in a room situation where their ideas are feeding off each other a little bit, or say you're having trying to figure something out, you can talk to somebody else about what they're doing. They'll say, "Oh, there's an idea." Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Ah, speaking of dancer friends, this is my. This is
Had a guy with hairy legs. You had to find somebody with hairy legs and hoofs.
yeah, my friend Gino. Yeah, he's another friend I've known. One of my dearest, dearest, dearest friends. And he was actually the model for, I think it was Heather Cooper's opera poster of Pan.
Oh, really?
It was
Yeah.
the black. It was on the side doing this, and it was like the black and white legs. And I saw that poster before I even met my friend Gino. This
Yeah.
is back in the 80s. I was like, oh my God, that poster's beautiful. And then skip ahead 40 something years. I'm like, hey, now he's like, we're like dearest of friends. I'm like, hey, Gino, let's do it. Let's do our own pan.
Yeah, Heather Cooper. I haven't heard her name for years. Yeah, she did a lot of opera stuff, and she won some major graphic design awards with some of her work.
Oh,
She was in CA magazine a number of times with. I just remember one with a white mask, and there was a
for
couple
the
of beautiful,
opera, for the
yeah, opera
Stratford.
books.
He's done some. Oh, that was the
Yeah,
Mikado for
yeah.
Stratford with the mask. Yeah, one of those.
It was a beautiful piece that she'd won an award for that one. But and as I was somewhat of a closet illustrator, I was I'd always rummage through wait for the next CA magazine to come out, and you could just look at this who's next. Like I love the illustration work of hers, and
Me
I was
too.
always Andrew Wyatt's fan as well. I kind of
Oh
followed
yeah.
down that road, but um, so reference material. I mean, I'm always curious about reference material. Like you know, uh, is that just an idea of the legs are there, but you said applying the look of the hair?
Yeah, it was a lot of cow photos, those Himalayan cows.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah, I'll spend days digging through the internet for reference. It's kind
Right.
of what we did back in when I was at ILM and Lucasfilm. We needed certain textures, and we'd have whole libraries just full of things we photographed ourselves, things that the company had photographed, and then things we pulled off the internet. That we needed, like scales and certain creaturey things and things that might make a good texture, and we just save them if they're high resolution. And
Right.
so I spent like 3 days looking at those. I can't remember the name of the cows. Those super hairy cows. Uh,
They're
those Highland cows. I
yeah,
can't
there's
remember the name.
The Highland cow. And
Yeah.
In Scotland they call them coos.
Oh,
They're called the coos.
there's probably tons of people yelling at their computer right now with the proper name.
Yeah, the
Um,
coos. Yeah.
so I would just cut, and you can just in Photoshop using
Yeah.
Puppet Warp, and you can just curve the fur, just
Yeah.
spend a few days and just follow Gino's legs a little bit, and then add the feet at the bottom.
Right, and then get the visual what they visually would look like, and just because it's hard to say, oh, they look realistic, but I've never seen a pan before in my my whole life. But you're trying to say, well, it's believable, and I think that's
That's
it,
the word. That's the word
it's
right there.
believable. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like when you fix up a mistake, and if nobody sees the mistake that you fixed up, then it never happened because you did such a good job of fixing the mistake. It never really was, right. It's sort of like, this is not a mistake by any means, but I'm just saying, how would it look? I say, well, I believe it would look like that, and I say,
There you
okay,
go.
and that's the way it is.
Yeah,
Then it's believable. I don't question that there was three cloven hoof instead of a two cloven hoof.
there you go. Dennis Murin, he is a visual effects god, and one of the founding members of ILM, and worked on the very first Star Wars. And I remember he said that. He goes, it doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be believable. And I was like,
Yeah.
ooh.
Yeah. And
Yes.
does that come down to use of light as well, and how?
Yeah, I like soft light. The one thing, learning at ILM is like always have something in the shadows and never flat, hot white light. And everything's always sort of in that beautiful mid area.
It has
So
multi-layer to it as well. Feels like multi-layered, but not too complicated.
yes, there was this. This is another model from Vancouver. I think I only had two lights for this one, just a key and a fill. But it was in a white room in my apartment in Vancouver, so it had a lot of soft bounce.
You're fishing fossil wall.
Yeah. Well, I got a bunch of. You can't see them here. All the shells and everything behind me.
Oh yeah.
Yep, that's another one that took like maybe a full week in Photoshop, just organizing, rearranging, the the beard is, as you can see, was kind of mostly painted. It's a bit on the illustrative sort of feel for the beard.
But it feels like it's underwater, so
Yeah,
that's
as long as it's got that.
got that flow.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. It's a matter of saying, how do I make him feel like he's under the water rather than just a portrait with a water background, right? And it's
yes,
not so much put the fish in the foreground. That's not really what it's about. But you look at the flesh and the lighting, and you feel like, okay, he's under the water. Like
yeah.
I don't even question it. I think he's under the water, and
Like all the darks, I tinted green, color corrected green, and then like this one and the Medusa one. At the end of the day, I look at my palette, and it's surprisingly full of greens for
mm,
all the flesh tones.
yeah,
Um, so it's a little surprising. Yeah, pure bright greens under the eyes, but it
right,
all sort of, well, this one's supposed to be underwater, so it's pretty green, but. Yeah, there's a lot more green in my skins than.
yeah. No, it just then we shared a thing the other day with a Damien Hirst piece. Yeah, and I see these seashells and the crustaceous looks that he built into these characters. I mean, his artist crew that was working on porcelain pieces and attaching them to these figures, and that's how they did them, right? They're all done in porcelain. He's just, you kind of look at that and you say, wow, like you get that wow factor. Like you're
Yeah,
looking for, yes, this is a portrait, but how do I make it a wow? Something that nobody else would do, but is still you,
yeah,
right? And you're trying to find that. And this whole series has that beautiful look of wow. I mean, and you try to, how do I keep the bar raised high? In my next portrait, how do you do that? Like, how do you keep raising your own bar?
well, I think I'm out of bars because sometimes I have ideas, and then I'm lucky and I get them going, and then I'm in a dry spot, so
Yeah.
then I just got to paint something else. So I don't know, it's what I think I can pull off with my photography, a little bit of Photoshop, and an idea. And I have to be able to paint these mythological people that are recognizable from
Hmm.
here to here.
Yeah.
So I don't get the body if they have any armor or anything. I just have from the chest up. So I was sort of looking through and thinking, what could I do on a head that could be
Well,
fun.
have you thought of that series of Vikings, like the famous Vikings and the Viking lore? Because they are full of tattoos, and it's just some of like the movie or the series Vikings is pretty amazing. It's like the character building on there is just like drop jaw. Like he's like, oh my goodness, that guy looks tough.
Yeah.
He looks mean.
And I love all that stuff where they braid the hair, all the details, and braid the
Yeah,
beard, and yeah, I absolutely love that
there's
stuff.
some amazing things that I can see. I don't think you'll ever get tired of thematic things because there's history is full of it. I
Oh,
mean,
yeah, it's an
yeah,
endless
yeah,
uh, mind of stories. And that's another thing too, is as well as I think I mentioned, I was always afraid of looking old fashioned, and I want to bring my stuff up to the more contemporary. And then this one, speaking of old fashioned.
yeah.
But I really trying to get more storytelling a little bit in my work, so it's not just a picture or a portrait of someone that may or may not want to hang on their wall. At least there's a little bit of story in
Yeah.
these mythological.
Yeah, and I think some of the stories are we've studied them, so we kind of know the storyline. Maybe if you've taken some Greek mythology in high school or in university or whatever, and you kind of understand a little bit how they're connected. Do you paint? You kind of paint in a series? Is that kind of how you work best? One feeds into the other one, so there's if you put all 12 of them in a room, they kind of have a group feeling to them. Is that
Yeah, that's sort of, yeah. I wanted to do a series. I did a whole series of koi paintings. I did 10 of them altogether, little ones and mostly large ones. And it's kind of fun to keep that sort of momentum going until you get sort of tired of them, and then you move on to the next thing. But I really like doing the mythological ones because they come with a story and really interesting things that I can, design and build and photograph
Right.
and then eventually paint.
Yeah. No, it's great that you can use all those medias. How do you figure AI is going to be affecting stuff like this? Is it affecting film? It's affecting
Oh yeah,
acting. It's affecting writing. It's affecting every
music.
discipline. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. It's coming, and it's frightening. And I remember one thing when I was at ILM. Once again, they're constantly updating their software, and they're constantly going to trying to get the newest, the best, the hottest thing going all the time. And it was sometimes frustrating because you just master the software, and they're like, "We're not using that anymore. We're using this. Learn this and do this." At the same time. But if you don't adapt and don't learn, you're going to be left behind. And I think AI for now is here to stay. And it's frightening, and I know it's already affecting my friends' work. That are getting laid off, and so it's frightening and it's very scary for artists. But the one thing is that at least these paintings are painted by a human,
Yeah.
and I guess that's the one saving grace I feel for my digital art colleagues and friends, especially concept artists. Oh my goodness,
Yeah. Well,
it's going to be frightening.
it's only, I mean, with digital printers and things already, um, AI, I think you could give it a bunch of paint tubes in intravenous tubes, and it'll eventually paint the painting
Mhm.
eventually at some point, and you'll hardly be able to. It'll put every crack in the canvas like it was from 1800. It'll make it out of oil paint. It'll do whatever it needs to be done. It's like a giclée.
Right.
It'll pound them out. It creates fakes really good, right?
Yeah.
That's the problem. So
But is it
how
is it gold or is it fool's gold? What do you
it's
want to pay for?
always always fool's gold. It's
Yeah,
always fool's gold.
the silver
But
plate
you
or
know,
sterling.
I guess it comes down to how does the artist make sure that their work is their work. So do you take a thumbprint and you put it into the paint that it's you, or do you take a hair and you embed it in the
Yeah,
canvas somewhere? Do you say that's my genetics, that's there, my hair is in there, and therefore that's one of my paintings? Or it's like fakers can do really amazing things. I mean,
yeah,
if you really want it really bad, that means this is worth like a lot of money then, if they really want this one to be,
yeah,
because they're going to spend a lot of energy to recreate these things. They usually are lazy, and they'll take an easy knockoff Picasso and call it a day.
yeah.
But um, I love the subtle beauty. Not a lot of color. I just love that flesh and black and gray.
Yes.
Beautiful piece. I just love it. Evil, but not.
Yeah. This is my nephew's now wife, Jamili, and this was 15 minutes reference photo shoot. She was visiting for Christmas, and she said, "Oh, she's absolutely stunning. This woman. I didn't even do her justice. She is so beautiful, and she's like a kickboxer, and she's a PhD. Like she's just an incredible woman." And so I found this. I have this whole collection of fabrics from like Salvation Army and Value Village, and then every time I find something, I just buy it for $6 or whatever, and I just store it away. And I had this giant black ruched and bedspread, and we wrapped her up, and it was freezing cold outside. And I went outside for the shoots, and I like click 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 click, get in and get warm. Came out click 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 click. So she was out in the snow. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
Oh yeah, like she was a trooper, and that's just a piece of black fabric that I just pinned around her and used some clamps on the back. So, and it was 15 minutes in and out, and then off she was back to Vancouver.
Wow.
But then in the computer, I added all those flowing fabrics again, and then just like a neutral background, and then adjusted the lighting and the color of the flesh. And at one point, she had hair that was blowing, but that was too distracting, so I just took that off. And
I
so,
think, yeah, I think it's understanding you will do commissions. Is this what you say? You actually, if they interest you, I
oh,
guess.
absolutely.
And I think, I mean, people have to understand that these things, when you have a portrait done of yourself, I think it's, or for you. In other words, say there's a government dignitary that needs a portrait done, or somebody of, in a large office corporation needs a portrait done. Do you want one of them stuffy portraits, or do you want one of those portraits that have a little bit of oomph in them, right? They've just got a je ne sais quoi, as they say. It's got something that just stands out.
Yeah,
Uh,
it's tricky.
it's hard to find sometime until you find the right person that knows how to find that in you. And I think you have that amazing ability to pull stuff out of people a little bit. I think that's, it's a gift, and
Oh, thank you.
no, very much so. I mean, one thing, the gift to paint, but also the gift of vision to see what you could do with certain. Oh, if I had the black, I could do this, I could do that. This is you. You're, pearl white flesh, and it's just
Yeah.
and it's black, and just knowing that you don't put golds in that, you don't put greens on that. This is wow. This is black and white. It's beautiful. Beautiful piece.
Oh,
And
thank you.
other, she's got dark hair too. Just all those little things that yin yang things happening back and forth. Lovely, lovely piece. Oh, we got Aphrodite. There we go.
Oh, this is one of my favorites.
You
This
got you
was,
got lost. You got lost in the hair, didn't you? Painting the hair.
oh, I didn't even know how I was going to do it. Honest to goodness. Like, it was one of those paintings where it's like, how am I going to do this? I don't even know how I'm going to paint bubbles and hair blending in, but it was extremely forgiving. Like, what I thought was going to be really difficult just sort of blended and happened. So this one, I've always wanted to do this kind of painting of a woman and just lying on the ground, and then I just put all these fabrics around her from, once again, from Value Village. And that's a curtain actually that's going diagonally across. And but then she was going to be my Aphrodite. But then I thought, okay, what part of Aphrodite, the story, that I can really like take it up one more notch? And Aphrodite was born from seafoam. And so I was washing my parents' car, and I was like, oh, there's some foam. And I ran in, got my camera, click, 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 click once again, and then spent days in Photoshop, putting this car foam from
Yeah.
the car wash in around the hair, because the fabric just went up and over, which I thought still worked, but
Yeah. I wish I would have went and zoomed in and made a larger zoom in on just the hair off to the right. I guess I could have done that, but just for people to see that. But hopefully, looking at a bigger screen.
yeah.
Mhm.
This was a lot of fun, but a lot of work. This was 2 months of painting, plus like maybe 10 days of photoshopping, because the fabrics, when I photographed her, they didn't quite reach out far enough, so I had to do the setup again. And I just went into my parents' garage and opened up the door for the light, and then just put the fabrics down in a similar fashion, and then brought it back in the computer and just extended it a little bit, like the whites and then the reds at the bottom, so it had a better flow. And so it was a lot of work. It was like 10 days just designing it in the computer, and the color and the lighting and everything. And then and then 2 months of painting. It was a lot of work for this one.
Yeah. No, it could be a really complicated painting as well. There's a lot of texture and things going on in there that you still want to define Aphrodite. Don't want her completely covered up with stuff. And it's done really well. It's the hair's almost background, like it
Yeah.
becomes part of her rather than flowing over top of her, right? it's behind her. Like you said, the foam. No, it's a lovely. It's a peaceful piece. It feels peaceful to me. She's almost sleeping. She's got her eyes closed a little bit, maybe, or just squinty a little bit. But
Yep.
and she's not looking at the camera. She's not looking. Like, that's really important stuff when you're setting up your model shoots, right? And trying to figure out the clarity in your mind as to what you want, but also let the model help you determine what you want.
Yep.
Like, you tell her, and then maybe she's got ideas that better to help you.
Oh yeah, we did a whole bunch. Sometimes the hands were here, sometimes they were off to the side. And then in the computer I can just keep the body and just swap out the top half. It's like, oh no,
Right.
not that one. And
Yeah.
sort of piece together the perfect, well, not the perfect, but the best pose I can get.
Yeah. Here's the koi that you were talking about. Some of the koi.
Yeah. So I was doing Art Vancouver, and I had a whole bunch of koi paintings. Almost the whole booth was koi paintings, but I was sort of finished with them, but I had a couple of portraits or figure pieces, and I needed something to transition from the koi to the figure pieces. So I was like lying in bed and thought, what if the koi was in with the figure? And then I had this dream about this woman and all these fish swimming around her. That's why I called it the dream. But and then this was during COVID that I did this painting, like when we were all on lockdown and it was really bad. And I was out in Vancouver, so I called a modeling agency, and I had a life model from the art school that was close by, and she was amazing. She came in, we both had masks on. She was at one side of the room, and I photographed her. I told her exactly what I wanted. I said I need this pose, and I'm going to add the fish. I did a little mock-up to show her what I was going to do with the fish, and then that was it. And she left, and then I got to work, putting the fish in, and the fish were from a koi distributor in Oakland, California.
Okay.
And I went there and I spent an afternoon just shooting 1,000 of these giant, huge kois that are in these ponds. And then I would just sort of cut them out and sort of arrange them in Photoshop to get a nice flow. And then once again, that green lighting on her skin. And then once again, a neutral background. And then it was about 4 or 5 weeks of painting after that.
Oh, yeah. Oh, it's and you're an oil painter.
Yeah.
That's typically what you like to do, is oil painting.
Yeah.
I think I love the Oriental aspect to this one as well. Like, it feels right, a little bit. With the koi, and I think subject matter, like choice of model, becomes important as well, I think, for the convey. But it's nice that you kind of had the dream, like, to figure out, because that'll happen with a lot of artists. They'll got a concept, an idea, but they wake up in the morning and it comes together because they thought about it overnight. And I think don't rush the idea. I guess that's what I'm saying. You kind of just spur the idea on, feed it a little bit, and let it percolate, and then it'll, like you said, the photo shoot and the Photoshop, and a couple of things later, you hopefully you've got it close. At least with you, the way you were. I don't work with Photoshop at all. I used to with a photocopier.
Yeah.
I remove all the color. Everything's black and white.
Yeah.
It's just kind of, I'm a little sloppier painter than that. I love this piece. I love the power in this piece. This feels very powerful. Like there's something really strong about this.
Yep, this was photographed in my apartment in Vancouver with a model from Vancouver. We did a whole bunch of poses and different things, and this is Menon. This is from the same photo shoot of the guy with the gold helmet,
right?
With the feathers in the background, or the wings in the background. So this is the same model, same photo shoot. Yeah.
Okay.
And but this one, I thought this pose was interesting, and it's a big one too. It's like 4 feet. It's kind of wide, and yeah, it was fun. Very, just once again, neutral background, contemporary. All I wanted to do is focus on the skin and try to, be as faithful to the texture of the skin as I possibly could.
Yeah. No, it's yeah, like I said, there's a simplicity to it, but and when I see the texture in there is the fingers. The fingers are the
Yeah.
texture, because the mass of his body and the weight and the muscle structure is just beautiful. Simple piece, but very. It has a powerful presence. I guess that's what I'm saying. I kind of like that.
Mm.
This guy, we were talking about this one before a little bit, and
Yeah.
it feels, it's sort of like you walked into the Greek bath somewhere and you found a guy and you stuck a helmet on him. It was just like, it's like he's real, but, and it was like you're there in the real day, the day of whatever he's getting ready for battle or ceremony or something. And it doesn't look faked up, and it feels like and I kind of want to know his personality. I don't know. How do you find that under the skin feeling? Where does that come from when you find the soul in a piece of work?
It might be random. It might be luck. Um, Sometimes because we talked earlier, and I told you the story behind this gentleman. He's actually a sound man for the Amazing Race Canada, and he was staying with a friend of mine. Actually, my friend, the Pan guy, Gino, staying at his place while they were filming the Toronto episode. And he said, Martin, there's a guy, he's a friend of mine, and he likes your work, and he would totally be a model if he needed it. And I was like, oh my God, he looks fantastic. And I went downtown and met him, and he was amazing. And we sat outside in the sun. He was sitting, and I was sitting in front of him, and we just talked, and I just photographed him just from the head up. I just wanted to do like a super, kind of Chuck Close giant head painting and just have fun with the skin and the coloring and everything. But then I thought, wait a minute, I can make this into one of my mythological guys if he had the right helmet. And me and helmets.
Yeah.
So the helmet came in afterwards.
Yeah.
And
beautiful helmet. Yeah, beautiful helmet. It's gorgeous.
Thank you.
The wings, and it just feels really, yeah. No, I love. It feels authentic. It doesn't feel faked up, right? It still looks ceremonial, the helmet, but it still it has maybe that's it. This feather feel has a feeling that conveys in him somehow. There's they belong together for some reason, or
Yeah.
and yeah.
It's got the tarnish, and it's worn, and
Yeah. I think the tarnish is important.
Yeah.
Not super shiny. It's not dominating the character, really. And he's kind of stripped down. There's no other garmentry on him. There's no trinkets and stuff, no bracelets or necklaces or anything. It's just flesh and that.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. I'm just breaking it down. I'm trying to figure out why I'm having a conversation, and we haven't talked in depth about it, but
yeah.
And I'm believing, sure, that's what Hermes looks like. I don't know. Nobody knows really, but sure,
Yeah.
I believe it,
And it was one of those things where, how do I do Hermes? When you think of Hermes, you think of the wings on the shoes and
Right.
that type of thing. And I thought, okay, I got to make his helmet look like, he had little wings mostly that they always
I know, yeah.
Yeah, but I thought I got to make this a little bit more
A
elaborate.
little more grandiose. Yeah, no, very, good choice. So Martin, you were a grand prize winner in the Great Canadian Art Show here this fall in Artists in Canada, and congratulations. And this was he won number 1 and number 2. It was just it was amazing that our jury had chosen that. It's really tough because you're portraiture, right? And there's tons of other landscapes, and there's lots of other really great art that needed to put it up and say, look at this.
Beautiful.
And this is titled Red, and it's a beautiful portrait. The jury were quite taken by this portrait. It was it felt it's a beautiful figure.
This was when I was just wanted to do skin, neutral background, oversized, like it's 4 feet, I think,
Oh,
tall.
wow. Yeah.
Yeah, it's 48 by 30, I think, or 48 by 36. I
Yeah.
can't remember. But this is one I just had a great time sinking my teeth into, just like the colors of the ear, and then just the gentle tones, and there's make sure that there's stuff in the darks and the lights aren't blown out. It's that lovely mid-tone symphony of soft blended. So that, I don't know. That's what I think of when that's what in my mind anyway when I'm painting
Yeah.
that kind of
Yeah. No, it's
script that's going on in my brain.
I got one more here, I think. Oh, yes. So this was the grand prize winner in the show, luxury of the book. And again, it's just the lighting and the brushwork and the drapery, supremely painted. It was a gorgeous. I think it was the concept becomes important. The title was important to convey what you're saying and what you're doing, and it was telling a story within the story. I think I'm assuming this because I wasn't one of the jury members, but it came back that way that it was unique, in the portraiture aspect of it. I mean, really, you think about it, the head's quite small.
Yeah.
The rest of it's only about, I would say, 1/15 of the whole piece. Like it's just the head, the portrait, actually the facial thing. The rest is all drapery and the feeling of the body underneath this drapery and the flow. Gorgeous work.
Thank
We've
you.
had, yeah, we've had I can't believe we've done our hour already, but it was just amazing talking. We're going to have to have another conversation as we move along. But, well, I really appreciate your participation in our show and
Oh, I am
also in this interview. Yeah,
I'm more than humbled. There were beautiful pieces in there and hundreds of them. So I am absolutely thrilled and very thankful that I got 2 awards from this. This was never happened to me before. So this is wonderful. Thank you.
well, we appreciate it very much, and it was all in celebration of our 25th year, Artists in Canada. So we'll bring David back in if he's still hanging around there, and we'll conclude our show here a little bit. There, his eyes are all this big. Like, holy smoke. Well,
Well,
what do you?
I was just thinking to myself, I have to be a little bit careful for what I say because I'm on, because I've done so many of these shows with Paul. But you are a worthy winner, Martin.
Oh, wow. Thank you.
An absolutely worthy winner.
You can say as much as you like when you talk like that.
And
Yeah,
I mean, there
it was
wasn't.
great.
That's just you do just the sort of stuff that I really love.
Oh, thank you.
And the crossovers, of course, from digital to.
He's feeling very Van Dyke. He's feeling very Van Dyke. Like he just.
Yeah, well, more Dick Van Dyke today, than Van Dyke.
Anyway, we really.
Well, you're always happy to, always welcome to come back on the show. I don't know if Paul will organise that going forward, but I'm sure you've got a lot more to show us, and that'd be absolutely wonderful.
Yeah. Well, we have a whole year ahead of us after January. And
yeah.
we definitely will be trudging out again, and we're going to have more and more and more, I guess. And definitely we do have repeats, and as things go along, Martin, reach out and we'll have another conversation. That's great.
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah. Anyway,
well, I think people you tempted us both with talk of films and Part of the Caribbean and all that sort of stuff, and I'm sure that's a rabbit hole that people would love to go a little bit deeper into. So,
I've got a ton of stories from.
We should do that then.
Yeah,
we should have the Lucas story, and I think that would be great.
Sure.
I would.
A little bit of history and show some more of your art, and let's plan that for the new year. We'll schedule it somewhere.
Excellent. Thank you.
Well, Martin, you don't have to jump off after we run the credits. Some people do, some people don't. But if you just want to stay with us, I'd like to thank you. Yeah. Thank you, Paul, for bringing another fantastic guest.
Yeah, he was.
To the channel. And if you really like this stuff, as I do, don't forget to like and subscribe. And gentlemen, until the next time on
Yeah.
Canadian Art Today. Bye bye.
Bye bye.